Hi everyone, welcome to Greeklish Outdoors. Today we are looking at the Yunchuan Pro 2-person tent from NatureHike. So, stick around. So I was browsing online recently looking for an interesting tent to buy, and I came across the Yunchuan Pro by NatureHike, and I thought it looked very interesting. It's a 2-person tent and promises to have loads of space. Anyway, let's see what you get in the bag. So it comes with this nice carry bag with good sturdy handles. We unzip it. It feels like one of those bags that have excess room in, so it's not hard to put your tent back in again. Inside the bag it does give you a list of contents and instructions on how to put the tent up. It has a nice strap which keeps everything together. And in here we have a bag with the tent stakes, and they're a little bit different to the usual red tent stakes you get with the NatureHike tents. These are aluminium and they're a kind of traditional style. And in total you get 14 tent stakes. Also in this bag you do get the guy lines. There are 4 here to put onto the tent. One thing I can say straight away is all the bags that everything comes into are really good quality. Next we have the tent poles. These are made of aluminium. You get 2 smaller red poles and 2 larger red and black poles. Again, the construction feels very tough. And then you get your inner with ground sheet and your outer, which as you can see is a really nice yellow colour. So as always with NatureHike tents, everything is very well organised, very well labelled, and I'm hoping it's going to be as easy to put up as my other NatureHike tents are. Right, let's get to it. One thing to note is that on the longest poles, the black parts are thinner than the red parts, so obviously extra strength is needed at the top. So that's the inner up, and as you can see this structure is quite unusual with these cross ridge poles here, which give you a kind of a flat ceiling on the sides. I think that also will add quite a bit of strength. That is the Yunchuan Pro 2-person tent up and ready. As you can see, it is that nice yellow and kind of off-white colour. You'll have seen when I was putting it up that there are 4 vents on the top to make sure there's plenty of ventilation inside the tent. This is my first time putting it up today, and it was very easy and straightforward. Everything was easily clipped together and colour coordinated, just as NatureHike tents often are. As you can see under here, there's a nice gap under the outer fly to let ventilation in. I have put all 4 guy lines out today because it is a fairly windy day. And I think I'm going to get some wind tonight as well. But there it is, unusual looking with those vents almost pointing up like 4 ears in the corners of the tent. But it is a very large looking 2-person tent, and that is partly due to the fact it has 2 large vestibules. Anyway, before we have a look inside, let's have a few facts and figures about this tent. So the NatureHike Yunchuan Pro 2-person tent. The outer dimensions of this tent are 210 centimeters long, 270 centimeters wide and 115 centimeters tall. The inside dimensions are slightly less at 200 centimeters by 140 centimeters by 110 centimeters. The tent weighs 2.7 kilograms. The material is 150D Oxford cloth polyester, which is silver coated for protection against UVA and UVB. The hydrostatic head rating on this is a minimum of 2000 millimeters. There are 2-person and 3-person versions. I have got the yellow option, but you can also have it in red, and is made in China. Just a short break from the video to say thanks very much for watching. If you haven't already subscribed, please consider doing so today. It'd really help the channel out. There are also links on other ways to support the channel in the description of this video. Anyway, let's get back to it. So that's the facts and figures done. Normally here in Greece, I struggle to test things out in the rain, but I felt a drop just a second ago, so maybe we're going to be lucky tonight and I'll be able to tell you how it fares in rainy conditions. However, even if that's not the case, I will be spending the night in this tent. I'm going to be testing it out for comfort, usability, quality, etc. And in the morning, I'll give you my overall opinions. Right, let's have a look inside. This tent does have an option where you can actually pull the door up, and with a couple of trekking poles can have yourself a little cover to sit under in the sunshine. We're not going to do that today. We're just going to roll this thing up. Let's take a look inside. First impressions is the door zips almost like it's completely off. This is the only part that doesn't zip on the door, so you can really open this thing up to let any air in. So I think this could be a really good tent for the summer. It has a bathtub floor, but as you can see, the rest is mesh in here. We do have a hook for a lantern in the center of the ceiling. Unlike many tents, there are no storage pockets here, but there is plenty of room. So I'm sat up straight in the center of the tent, and yet there's like almost 2 hand widths for me to touch the ceiling. It's so much room in here, and I am 6'2", so normally tents do tend to skim my head, but there's loads of space in here. With all this mesh, those 4 vents, the silver coated outer, this is going to be a really good tent for summertime. Plenty of ventilation, I think, coming through here. But for now, in wintertime, it might be pretty cold tonight. So far, I can't really see any loose threads or extra cotton that makes me think the quality is not up to snuff. However, I have spotted, I'm not sure if you can see that, there is a tiny little bit of light coming through the outer. Now, I don't think that's a hole. I think that is possibly a little bit of that silver coating might have not fully covered. And if we check on the outside, there's the tiny mark. So there's definitely not a hole in the tent. It's just maybe a tiny little gap in the silver coating. But I do love the colour of this. It is like custard and cream. Some dark clouds look like they're heading this way, so I'm going to grab my stuff and stick everything in the tent before it starts raining. Because I thought there was going to be so much room in here, I actually brought my NatureHike cot bed with me. So I'm going to put it up now and see if it actually fits. It's in, and it fits. That end is touching at the moment, but the other end there is some space. And I think, especially if I put it in the middle, that my head's not going to touch the actual material as well. I did worry with it being a little bit higher. Sometimes these tents curve, but because this is so tall, I'm not going to have that issue. Right, I've got my bed all set up, my sleeping bag's out there. I even have a little flat pack chair in the corner, and there's plenty of room for my gear. Even with this cot bed in, there's plenty of room for me and my gear. This is definitely a two-person tent. You could probably fit two of these cot beds side by side. It would be a tight squeeze, but you'd definitely get in. But for two regular sized people with air mats and their gear, this tent is perfect. Not only have you got lots of space inside, the vestibules are huge. I've got the door up at the moment. You can see my stools in there. There's plenty of room to put your backpack, your boots, and any other stuff you have with you. And of course, there's one on the opposite side as well with just as much room. Each vestibule is 65 centimeters wide, which is plenty of room to put anything you need. I do like two-person tents with double doors. So if, for example, I want to get out in the middle of the night to pee, I don't have to disturb the person next to me to climb over to open the door. So far, I'm impressed. The only thing I'm concerned about tonight is the fact that there is so much ventilation. It's going to be a cold night, and therefore it might be a little bit drafty. But I'm kind of testing it in the wrong season. This should really be a spring-summer tent, I believe. I've been inside the tent for about an hour now, just relaxing, and it is very, very comfortable. There's plenty of room to move around in there, whether you want to sit up, lie down, spread out. It's really, really cool. And one of the good things about having a high ceiling is that you can have a pee in the tent, which I'll probably need to do later on. If ever you've been camping and it's been cold and you're a guy and you're getting a bit older, you need to pee in the night time, and the last thing you want to do is go outside and pee in the dark. So bottles at hand, pee in the tent. So far I'm very happy. The only complaint I'm having is I'm getting a little bit cold in the tent. That is not the fault of the tent at all though. It is getting pretty chilly outside now, and when you're doing very little in the tent, then you tend to get a bit cold. But so far I've not really felt that much of a draft inside too. The wind has calmed down a little bit. Unfortunately there has been no rain, it seemed to have blown over. But I think it's going to be a fairly comfortable, if maybe a little bit cold, night in here. I'm in the tent, I'm ready to get some sleep. I will bring you back in the morning and let you know how it all went. Morning everyone, I had a really good evening and night in the tent. I'm all packed away now. Sorry I couldn't show you that process, but I've got to leave very, very shortly. But it was a very, very easy process to take it down, almost just as easy as it was to put it up. So I'm very happy with that. Overall, I really like this tent. The quality is really, really good, as you'd expect from a NatureHike tent. It is super roomy inside. In fact, it's probably overkill for me on my own. There was definitely enough room for two people and some gear. And you have those huge vestibules. Unfortunately, it didn't rain in the night, so I couldn't give this the water test that I wanted to, but that will have to wait for another time. I think in wintertime, this tent could be quite drafty as there's so much mesh and ventilation inside. But for a summer tent, this will be really, really good. And I'm looking forward to testing this again this summertime. Of all the tents I have, this might be the one I bring out the most this summer. There's so much ventilation, there is that UV protection on it, so I think of all the tents I have, it will be the coolest. Anyway, that was the Yunchuan Pro 2-person tent by NatureHike. I really like it. Definitely a tent I'll be using again many, many times in the future. It's also going to be a tent I take out when I'm camping with my kids, as I think there'll be enough room for me and both kids in this. Yeah, I liked it. Let me know what you thought of this in the comment section below. Would you choose the yellow or the red version? Let me know that as well. But for now, thanks for watching. Take care. Much love. See you next time.